All right, going live, officially live. Peeps, welcome to another Plumbstream. This is going to be your opportunity to sit down with me, chat about plumbing, chat about anything that you guys really want. I want to know more about how you all are doing, what's going on in your hometowns, in your cities, in your countries, in your states, whatever it is that you guys are going through. I want to know. It also gives you an opportunity to ask me questions about plumbing or plumbing related things, like things about getting into the trade. I know some of you are just getting in, so, just curious to know how everybody's doing, how everybody's going. It has been scorching here in Toronto. It's been like an average of 35, 36 degrees Celsius around here. Chris, much support, man. Hope you're staying safe. Doing well, Chris. Thank you. How are you doing? What are you up to? Are you doing plumbing now, or wherever you live slowing down in regards to plumbing? Just curious. Let me know. If you have any questions, shoot them my way. Thank you for the support, Chris. I really appreciate it. So, I'll give you a brief synopsis as to what's been going on with my life. We did a bunch of finishing this week, essentially, and finishing work really takes a lot of time, effort, and patience. We spent a couple of days at a house where we did probably around 10 to 11 fixtures to finish. David! David, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Also want to let you know I am still thinking about the offer that you talked to me about. I haven't forgotten about it. I just haven't had much time to really sit down and figure out the intricacies, but really appreciate the support, brother. Love you, man. Thank you for hanging out always on a Saturday. Chris, you're from Massachusetts in the U.S. Got a job at a local drain cleaning company. I leave for basic training for the Army next month. Well, first of all, Chris, congrats on both. Local drain cleaning company, awesome. And when you go into the Army, first of all, congrats on getting in, and amazing option to serve your country. I mean, that's a very honorable thing. Are you going the plumbing route in the Army as well? Because I actually know another gentleman that is in the Army, and he does plumbing for the Army, and that's sort of like, that's part of his, I think, David, I think he's from Massachusetts. That's what he was saying. So I assume it's in Massachusetts, or maybe there's a more intricate question you're asking. But yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. Really cool. So how's the drain cleaning coming, Dave? Chris, are you enjoying it? Was it for you, or did you decide to do something else? Or yeah, and any information would be awesome. And if you have any questions plumbing wise, by all means, pick my brain. Oh, and Chris, David is also, he was in the Army. He was a medic in the Army, and he went to Afghanistan, and actually, you were serving a general, I think you were saying, right, David? I think you were with a something star general, a one-star general, something like that. So yeah, we have a couple of folks here that are that were serving in the U.S. Army. One tour, yes, Dave. I remember, baby. I remember. You're always hanging out. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the thumbs up, peeps. If you can hit that thumbs up button, always appreciated. So as I was saying, we were doing a bunch of finishing today, and finishing really, the hard part about finishing, Missouri, David, and I love it, man. Seems some crazy plumbing jobs. I believe you, Chris. I believe you. Chris, are you going into the Army and continuing plumbing in the Army, or how does that work? So the one thing I just want to briefly talk about in regards to Fort Lost in the Woods, that is where I did mine. I see. That's why you were asking, Dave. Ah, okay. So there are specific places where people specifically go for the Army. Does Interesting, interesting. So in regards to finishing, all I really wanted to say is that finishing a lot of the times feels like fine tuning, because even if you do your rough in immaculately, there are sometimes some variables that you don't really see. So for example, we roughed in a water closet flange, and just to realize that the people that were putting in the flooring were actually going to put in an additional subfloor. So they already had plywood down, and we roughed in our flange to that plywood, but they added an additional round of plywood and then tile on top of that, which makes the variables change all of a sudden because now your flange is too low. But, you know, if we were told initially that that was what was going to happen, then it would have been easier. We would have roughed it in. So what ends up happening is I have to build up the flange at that point in order to get the toilets done. And that's what I mean by fine tuning. Finishing is one of those things that, especially since you're dealing with finished fixtures, you're moving a little bit slower because you have to be very careful with them. But on top of that, these fine-tuning things, like all of a sudden you realize that the cabinets only allot for, not the cabinets, the drawers of a vanity only allot for a certain amount of movement of the P-trap. You can't deviate too far from center. So all of a sudden you really got to add a new 45, or you got to make sure that it's not touching. And that's the sort of thing that I find difficult about finishing. It really makes you very detail oriented as a plumber because you really got to work within certain parameters. David, Kenny, what is the most risers you have ever put on a flange to get it to the right height? Oh, I just had to put 2 on. Could not figure out why, but needed them. So Dave, I actually went 3 high. And the thing is, the way we add these risers to them, we call them not repair kits, but we call them, I can't remember the name. I think they're repair kits. No, they're not repair kits. There's something else. I had to go 3 high. And the way that they're actually suggested to put on is they actually provide you with a silicone. And the good thing is they stack on each other. I'm sure you have a very similar system there, Dave. But you have to silicone between the risers, right? And you also have to silicone between the first riser and their original flange. So you got to do that. And then they also provide holes. So if you can get a couple of screws in, that would be perfect for you because you know those things aren't going to move. So Dave, I think the most I've done is probably 3, 4 maybe, but you really got to have long bolts in order to make sure that that happens. Peeps, make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you can. Really appreciate it. And shoot me any questions that you might have about plumbing. Really curious to know how everybody's doing and what's going on. So David, do you do a silicone layer as well, or how does that work for you when you put the riser in for the flange? So we had to do 3 this week, and you know, they're not the most difficult thing in the world, but here's another thing that I got to discuss about finishing that I find a little bit frustrating, and I'll be doing a video at some point about this. Finishing sometimes requires you to go through almost every type of material that you carry in the truck. So you got to bring your materials for copper, you got to bring your torch, you got to bring your paste, your solder, your grit cloth, etc. And then you might actually be working on PEX in a different room. So now you got to bring your crimpers, your all your fittings for the PEX, all the rings for the PEX, etc., your cutters for the PEX. And then you're going to be working with ABS. So now you got to get your ABS glue, you got to get your tape measure, you got to get ABS pipe, etc. And that's one of the difficult things I find about doing finishing is you literally sometimes have to bring in all the tools that you have in the truck. And that's where you lose a lot of time. Switching from system to system, it becomes a little bit difficult. So that's the only thing that I really find frustrating about finishing. We did a job a little while back where not only did I have to go through PEX, through ABS, through then put in a toilet, which means I got to get the gaskets for it. I got to get the bolts. I got to get the junior hacksaw. I got to get all those things. Then I had to actually go and do some drilling in cement because I was mounting a baby hot water tank to the wall, but I had to drill cement. So now you got to get your hammer drill. You got to get your cement screws. Like the problem is that because you start introducing all these materials, it actually slows you down. And a 2-piece washroom takes you a whole day, and everybody's like, why did that take you the whole day? Well, that's because I had to do ABS. Well, that's also because I had to put in a a toilet. I also had to secure the vanity to the wall. So now I got to get my drill, I got to get my plugs, I got to get my screws. Well, now I got a shim, so I got to go get shims. Well, now I got a drill for the hot water tank, so I got to go get my hammer drill. If you don't have your hammer drill, you got to go pick up your hammer drill, or else it's going to take you 15 minutes to drill one hole if you don't have the hammer drill. Well, then you need cement screws. Well, now you need strapping. Well, now you need to grab your level because you got to level everything. Well, now you got to introduce PEX to this. Well, now you got to connect everything. So it just becomes more and more intricate as the finishing is going on. And that's my 2 cents about it. Peeps, let me know what your thoughts are on finishing. David was saying, no, was taught to just use really long screws. But to be honest, I cannot remember if the bolt went to the floor or just connected to the top riser. So the way it works for us, the bolt, the kits that we have, the bolt has to go to the original flange. So you really need a long bolt, especially if you're doing 2-3 risers, you know. You really need a long one so that you can have something to thread onto basically after that. So the repair kit that we have, or the build-up, the flange build-up, whatever, or the riser as you call it, we have, provides you with a type of silicone that they want you to use on it. So it's suggested, and again, you do want to put those screws in, kind of like you're saying, David, because you really want to make sure that as you're threading down the toilet and it's creating its seal, that it's not pulling up these flanges or these new riser flanges and then creating spaces between them where water's going to spill out. Because I remember early on in my apprenticeship, I put them in without doing the siliconing, and it kept leaking, and Dad pulled it out, siliconed it, and it worked. And he kind of turned to me, he goes, dude, you installed this toilet 3 times. If you had siliconed it like originally, you would have been fine the first time. So it was one of those things where I realized if the manufacturer is recommending the siliconing, definitely do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's part of the gig, basically. Funny stories. Do you prefer using PEX or using Wurzbo? Funny stories. I'm actually I've only used Wurzbo a couple of times. I used it once in plumbing school, and I think it's a really cool system. And if you have the tools for it, it's really fast. And we recently ended up buying the expander tool from Milwaukee, I think it is, because all of our stuff's Milwaukee. But that's a conversation for a different time. So when we have the tools, Wurzbo is awesome. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's very satisfying expanding and shoving and whatever. The one thing I think that I need to kind of put out there, though, is I'm a little bit of a minimalist when it comes to Chris. Let's not start a war about tool names. I think David is a DeWalt guy. Okay, easy, fellas. I think Milwaukee sucks. I knew it, David. So I think I'm a minimalist in the sense that if I don't have to bring something in that needs a battery or needs a cord, I would rather stay away from those things, because I find that you lose a lot of time charging batteries, or you're constantly concerned about charging batteries. And that's the only downside I think there is to the Wurzbo. Wurzbo's an awesome system. I got no problem with Wurzbo. Using an extra thick wax seal with horns will work too if the flange is too low, instead of using those flange extensions. That's true. If you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. That is something I've seen plumbers stack wax on wax, actually. So that's another style of doing it. So that's the only thing, funny stories. I find that if I don't have to add something to my repertoire that has a battery, I try to stay away from it. I'm kind of in favor of that thing because I could just have it on the truck and it's ready to go whenever, right away. You know what I'm saying? But if you haven't used your DeWalt expander and your batteries are all out, then you're kind of stuck. You know, you got to charge up the battery for a half hour or 20 minutes in order to start getting work done. And that's the only downside I see to adding power tools to the system. So I hope that helps. But yeah, that's a question. If you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Have you ever used wax on wax? Because I don't know if that's kosher. In the sense that I don't know if there's an unwritten rule in plumbing where people are like, yeah, that's fine. You know, that's not a bad thing. They have a handheld tool for it to expand it. Funny stories? I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting. I've only seen the expander that's a battery-powered one, so that's interesting. That changes the game for me actually quite a bit. Like I love Wurzbo when you have the tool and it's ready to go. But you know, another thing I gotta say is my dad's a really big fan of taking the reciprocating saw or the Sawzall and using it for ABS. Like for him, it's very fast. He really is good at making a straight cut. I'm not a big fan of it because I don't like the mess that it makes, and also I don't get as straight as a cut as if I got tube cutters. And tube cutters for me are wicked. They're my go-to. If I have my Sawzall next to me, my Sawzall next to me, I'll go to the truck and I'll get my tube cutter. I think there's also a satisfaction for me in regards to cutting pipe with a tube cutter. So I don't know, but that's sort of the person I am. I sort of gravitate towards things that are ready to go right away. And I gotta be honest, this kind of extends into my life with headphones as well. My wife's a big fan of the earpods, the Bluetooth earpods, and a lot of people have been talking to me about getting them because I'm always with these cords right here. But the problem I have is you got to plug them in and you got to charge them. And in my head, I'm going, man, I already got to plug in two phones, like a work phone and my own personal phone. And now I got to plug in headphones, man. I'm just going to lose my mind. And I also have to plug in batteries for my camera. So like, I'm sick of batteries. And that might be just me because I work with so many things that have batteries, but that's just me. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. You've done wax on wax. I've done wax on wax because I didn't have an extra thick one on me. Worked well. Okay, that's good to know. Do you have the Milwaukee pack-out system? So hand to bring in a variety of tools. I don't have the Milwaukee one. I think you're talking about the stackable system that they have. I actually have the DeVault system. I don't know what it's called, but it's essentially the same thing. But I don't use it anymore. I only use it for storage. So in other words, I have the system. The biggest box I have is allocated to some of the big tools that I have, which include a K39 drain machine and stuff like that. And the other one, I have a medium box that goes on top of this one, which I load all my power tools into. And I don't typically go on job sites where I have to roll these bad boys out. There was a job site a couple of years back. We did a coffee shop from ground up, and it was really useful just to roll them out and leave them on the job site there. Go home and come back, and they're ready to go. They're sitting there. Oh, Laureate. Oh, man, I haven't seen you or heard from you in a while. A couple weeks back, you sent me a message. Thank you so much for the super chat, friend, man. That's such a big deal. Peeps, thanks so much for the love, man. Honestly, this money is very useful in regards to finding editors and just helping out. Thanks so much for the support, Peeps. It's really, really, really heartwarming, man. So to David Dillon, okay, to the group, for service guys, how much extras do you carry on your truck daily? I hate going to shops, so I try to carry 3 of most parts. Fill valves, all copper fittings, 10-foot copper. Laureate, thanks for the love, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the love. Dave, my dad kind of had a really stern talking to me. He gave me a stern talking to one day because I was carrying more than 3 of everything. And the truck that we have, the small one, isn't really designed to be on the heavy side. My dad's big truck can handle it. So he kind of gave me the same protocol that you have. He goes, look, 3 of everything. And don't overdo it because you're gonna ruin the shocks on this damn thing. So I'm actually with you. I think 3 is a good number. But the one thing that I have a problem with in regards to my truck is that you can't really carry much anyways. My dad's truck is it's really the right type of truck for this work. But the reason why we went for the smaller Ford Transit is because Dad has a hard time going into underground parking with his large truck, you know what I'm saying? So that was like a strategic move on his end, but you can't really fit 12-foot lengths inside there. You got to cut them in half, or you got to put them in on an angle, but you got to wrap them when you do it. So that's something. Yeah, three. Dave, it's the same for us. We do about three. Michael Porter, what's going on, Mike? Have you ever been hit on by a customer while in their house to service? Just asking because I have. LOL. Mike, man, that's an interesting question. Uh, it wasn't. I had a moment. I had a moment where Patrick, what's going on? So, Mike, I'll tell you my story if you tell me yours. Uh, I sort of had a moment. So, dude, I don't, man, maybe I've had a couple of moments, but they weren't very forthcoming. It wasn't really obvious. There were some hints, and as I look back, I go, yeah, I think something was going on there, but it wasn't like ridiculous, like, get off my shoulder sort of thing. You're about to get a new truck and you've been looking into the Transit, but the normal slash extended cab. How's the truck you're running doing for you? Laureate, give me one sec. Let me answer this quickly. I'll get to you. So basically, there was this one lady who kind of, she was really nice when she was talking to me, a little bit too nice. And then at one point, she kind of brushed her hand across my chest, and I was like, what's going on here? I gotta get out of here. I gotta make sure my dad's talking to this lady instead of me. So that was one thing. And there was another lady that was an interesting one. She sort of just kept on showing up and bringing herself into the equation, even though she didn't need to be there. And the interesting thing is, I was wearing a mask the whole time, but I don't know, man. That might have been a maybe, but there was definitely a lady. Oh, Chris, take it easy, friend, and best of luck with the Army. I hope I see you before then and after then and all that. All right, so let me quickly go to Laureate because of the super chat. I'm about to get a new truck. Okay, so Laureate, let me quickly talk to you about the Ford Transit. So we've had the Ford Transit probably about 4 or 5 years now. Here's what I have to say. In regards to a truck, I enjoy it quite a bit. It's easy to park. It also has a reverse kind of beep thing like a lot of trucks do. So it really helps you in regards to, getting around things. That's first of all. It's not as big as my dad's truck. So dad's truck's a little bit more difficult to park just because, it doesn't have that reverse thing. And it also is it's a monster, right? In regards to gas, it's not the best on gas. I wouldn't even be able to tell you the mileage on it, honestly. I find that, maybe it's average on gas, I should say. In regards to maintenance, it's been pretty good, though. Like, I've heard horror stories about it. I bumped into a guy that kept on saying that he had key issues with his Transit, and he was asking us if we had a problem with it, and we didn't. So I think this guy really just ran into a bunch of bad luck where his might have been manufactured in it was just one of those duds that he actually picked up and just started suffering with. But in regards to having the Transit, the only irritating part for me is what I already discussed, which is, and I know you're getting the extended cab, so you might not have this issue at all. I just find it irritating that I can't put a full length of pipe in there. And you got to cut your pipe into 3/4 or into half or whatever. You can't carry as many things. Like my dad's truck is always good to go and ready to go. Patrick is saying Transit T250 is where it's at full height. So, Laureate, I hope that helps. Let me know how it goes with the Transit. That's really cool. What model? Is it the T250? And let me go back. Okay, so I got a question from Drop Fat Josh. Drop Fat Josh. I'm currently a paramedic and finally got hired as apprentice. Nice. Starting 2 weeks. I'm getting out of first responder field. Any advice being completely new? Drop Fat Josh. Listen, here's the advice that I gotta have. You have to be totally honest. I assume you already have been that you're completely green. Letting them know that your green is going to be actually really good for you because you don't want them expecting more than you can do. All right? That's number one. That's cool. Let's put that aside. The second thing is you got to show them that you're ready to go, ready to work. If they're asking you to go do things that are kind of like you got to go get the coffees or you got to run out to the truck and get tools. Look, that's part of the game. We all cut our teeth like that in the first year. You just got to know. Now, from my experience and from a few of my friends, it's very hard to get your hands on the tools in the first year. You're doing a lot of watching, you're doing a lot of delivering, you're doing a lot of the grunt work, and you're doing a lot of the cleaning up. That's just part of the game. Unfortunately, you got to start at the bottom of the totem pole and work your way up. But listen, if you show them you're eager, if you ask questions and you're interested, and again, ask questions at the appropriate time, make sure that if there's a customer involved, just hold those questions to the end. Show them you're eager. Just show them genuine interest if that's what you're interested in, and you're going to be good to go. That's it. They just got to know that you're a team player and you're ready to go when they're ready to go. That's it. That's my best advice that I can give to you. And learn as much as you can. There's nothing wrong with asking questions as long as it's appropriately timed. And when you ask questions, make sure it's not oppositional. Make sure it's not something like, well, why are you doing that? No. Out of curiosity, what's going on here is a better question than something that might come across as, oppositional. All right, hold on. All right, so you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Sorry, Dave, not a service guy. I do new commercial construction, but I still do like to have a few things on hand like copper fittings, black iron fittings, and some PVC. Patrick! Patrick with the Pro Press. I remember that was a good conversation. So, David Dillon is going, Kenny, your dad needs to get what's a Napahide service? Wow, I've never heard of this. They are the best and organized very well. Expensive though, but saves me from having to run if I get back-to-back calls. Napahide. Whoa, Dave, what kind of truck is this, fam? I gotta look this up. Okay. Transit T250 is where Patrick's talking about. David is saying, if you have the budget, look into Napahide KUV. Without roof ladders, you can get into most public garages. Great organization capabilities. I've never heard of this truck. Okay, so David Dillon did 20 years as a medic in the Army. Yeah, that's a very similar story to Drop Fat Josh. Okay, so you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Main wholesaler, we typically use two wholesalers. We use Noble, use that a lot, and we also use Desco a lot. Every once in a while, we go to Wellesley. Laureate. I've been running the 2007 GMC Savannah for a long time. Heard from a few people that they had dropped in quality after 08, and 09. Don't want to make the jump and get burned. I hear that, Laureate. I hear that completely. Thanks, man. The company I got hired with is all new construction and stuff, and they know I'm green, but I work hard unlike most of my generation. Drop Fat Josh, that's all you need to do. I'm glad that you were honest with them because there's nothing worse than starting off a relationship with some sort of a fib or a lie. Because they're going to know in the first 5 minutes. Like, honestly, the way it works with plumbers that are skilled is the moment you pick up your pliers, they already know what's going on. Like, Noble Gang, they already know what's going on. So do yourself a favor, just be honest, and I'm glad you were. Glad you were honest. And just work hard. That's it. Again, in the first couple of years, you're basically facilitating the journey person you're working under's work. You know what I'm saying? You're making sure that they're ready to go. So you're getting the torch, you're getting the tools, because they're being paid top dollar because they're the most skilled, right? Your job is to make sure that they can take their skill and implement it. And by doing that, you will eventually know all the tools, all the fittings, all the pipes that you'll need when you're about to do the exact same job as they are. And that's really how you cut your teeth. So keep it up, Drop Fat Josh. You got this. Keep your chin up. David Dillon, Kenny, you might have seen them. They have doors on the side. Some are enclosed, some are not. Either way, great trucks. I'm going to look it up, David. Those are awesome. Sorry, you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. What's J-Man rate out in Ontario? Sorry, I don't know what J-Man is. Maybe it was a typo, or what's the journeyman rate? Okay, I think that's what that is. What's the journeyman rate out in Ontario? I talked to a guy from the union, and he was letting me know that The union wage, yeah, thanks, you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. I think the union wage right now is around $50 an hour for a journeyman or journeywoman. And in regards to service, I think service always trails a little bit behind. Service plumbers can go anywhere between $35 to $45 an hour from what I understand. It really depends on the company, you know what I'm saying? But from what I heard, the latest I heard from the union is you're looking at about $50 an hour, licensed basically. Laureate, when are you buying? Are you buying soon? Have you decided on the Transit? Or, look, I really don't know about this '08 and '09 Savannah, but, you know, they were pretty reliable back in the day, I guess. So you think something's wrong with them. So, Laureate, what kind of things are you hearing from them? David, thoughts on Little Giant ladders? Do you like them or not? Open to group. Little Giant ladders. Are those the extendable ones? The ones that kind of fold in on each other, David? Because ladders are really heavy, but very versatile. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Interesting. Little Giant ladders. I think you're talking about the extendable ones. Ladders are really heavy, but very versatile. I think those are the ones you're talking about. David, am I right? Is it the extendable ones where like they fold small? You can make any frame and ladder. Yeah, okay, I know. You know, I've used them. It's the ones that click, right? They click up and like they really fold down, every one. If that's the one you're talking about, I've used it. The only thing that scares me about it is that especially when you're going up really high, they kind of bend a little bit. And I know they're still sturdy, but that bend stresses me out, boy. I got to be honest. They have a little bit of like a groove. Oh, I'm thinking of something else. Okay, you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Good. Thank you for letting me know, because I was going to go on, fam. I was going to go on talking about this ladder. Actually, I could look it up. Got the iPad here. Let me see now. Let me see. Giant, what are they called? The Little Giant ladders. All right, let me check this out. Little Giant. Yeah, here we go. Little Giant ladders. What are we looking at? Oh, interesting. I've never used one of these. Oh, I see a bunch of them. I've seen these, but I've never really seen them. Like, I've never really used one. That's interesting. So, Laureate, my dad and I are stuck between the GMC and the Ford, but for as long as I can remember, my dad has ran the GMC, and I suggested the Ford, but just don't want to switch and have issues. Laureate, look, in regards to Ford's abilities, man, we've been happy with Ford. Like, it's been a reliable truck. It hasn't caused any issues thus far, knock on wood. So it's been pretty good. GMC, I think that's what my dad's riding now. But look, we're happy with both trucks. I got to be honest. So in regard, like, Ford's really reliable from what I'm finding. So I don't think you got to worry about that. It's more about the practicalities of it. Like, does it fit the exact situation you and your dad are trying to run, you know? GMC are good working vehicles. That's what we use. That's what you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Babs Cat, good idea. What are we talking about, Babs Cat? What's the good idea? Do I have a good idea? Do you have a good idea? Laureate, if you're looking for a minivan style, I like the Nissan, even though I drive a Ford. Interesting. You know, I've seen the minivan stuff. The minivans can look pretty badass. I ain't gonna lie. I've seen some plumbers deck them out. I've seen more UK drivers deck out some of their minivans. Minivans look pretty awesome, to be honest. They look like they might be useful. Yes, Nissan NV2000 looks sweet. Yeah, I'm telling you, the Nissan, like these minivans, Nissan NV2000. Let me check that out. NV 2000. Let me see, man. Looking it up. Give me 1 sec. Yeah, man. Yeah. It does look awesome. Honestly, they look pretty badass. I ain't gonna lie. Nissan. Oh, okay. All right. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Laureate had an answer. And they one of their best answers. Really never had an issue with the one I had back in the 90s, especially their Jatco CVT engines. Oof. Oof. That's a big deal, eh? All right, all right. No Nissan for Laureate. Laureate has had a bad experience, so let's not even stick to the Nissan conversation. We'll go on to something else, all right? But no, we've had good experiences with the Ford, honestly. The only bad experience we had with Ford was going to their service area, and that was a gong show of a situation. But it was like a service issue. Probably used DeVault. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Easy with the DeVault insults, eh? Kenny, look up yeah, let me do that. That's a good idea, David. Everybody's Milwaukee, eh? Easy, easy. You're starting a war, you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Starting a war. Let me look up this bad boy right here. Come on, dude. Let me spell it out. KNAPEHE. Wow, dude. This is a name. Is this a German name? KUV. Oh, I see what you're saying here. Okay, so Dave, man, honestly, I think we do have these. Let me show you an image. Dave, you're talking about one of these bad boys right here? So I think I've seen these, and there's different types of layouts for them. I think I have seen them, but I don't know how common they are. But I also don't look for these trucks. But I'm pretty sure I have seen them, but I've never been told a name about them. Like I've never realized that. I've never looked at the brand before, so that's an interesting kind of truck. They've got all sorts of compartments going on in there. They kind of look like a Brinks truck. Like it looks like there's guards in the back of these things. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't look like easy doors to break into. In other words, are they sort of reinforced to look like that, or are they hard to get into? Because they're pretty awesome, to be honest. But yeah, Dave, I actually think we do have them here in Ontario. I just don't see them as often. But I definitely have seen these. That's pretty cool. They do have guards as an option. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Yeah, they got all sorts of different layouts for them. Is that what you're using right now, Dave? That's interesting. Pretty sturdy on the side doors. Yeah. They got all sorts of compartments on the side as well. So peeps, I'm gonna give you a quick announcement, and it's very brief. Are you doing your live stream in the same room as you do your vlogs, or is that a studio? KUVs are dope, Isaiah. What's going on? Just bought it and trying to fill out. Where do you work around? I try to get a whereabouts on your videos. Seems like Mississauga, Scarborough. Laureate, you're right. I work all around that area. We're generally in the GTA, so we go. I was in Saga once. I do work a lot in East York and stuff like that. We even go east sometimes. So wherever we can. Laureate, how about you? So if you ain't plumbing, I'm in the exact same room. This is my studio, but it's the other side of my studio. I was doing a couple of live streams over there, or Plumbstreams over there on the other side. That's where my computer's at. I just changed the location. I kind of like this. It's better for the audio, but anyways, I got to change the location again because this is one beautiful backdrop. Am I right? It's just gorgeous. Isaiah, what's going on? All right, I need to do a quick announcement. North York, Forest Hill, downtown mainly. Laureate, you and I might bump into each other one of these days, honestly, because we're in the North York area quite a bit. We do a lot of East York as well. Downtown, it's not as often, like the core you're probably talking about, but we definitely go downtown as well. That'd be cool. Okay, quick announcement, and then we're just going to keep moving, all right? I just want to let you know, I've been working on a 4-song EP for about 4 years. And I finished it, and it's officially been uploaded, and it's going to be processed, basically. They're going to look through it, make sure everything's up to standard, and it should be released within the end of this month. I'll do a pre-release, and then as of August 1st, if everything goes as planned and the audio's good, I'm releasing my 4-song EP. I just want to let you all know it's not plumbing related in that sense, but I do talk about plumbing in my music. But just want to let you all know. I don't know if you're into that. It's electronic/rap, so I don't know. It's a thing. I just wanted to share that because it's an important project to me. I'm really happy it's finally done. There's a love-hate thing with it right now where like so much work's been put into it that it's drained me of all my creative juices, but at the same time, it's drained me of my creative juices. It's done that thing. It's satiated me. So I appreciate that. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. I'll let the community know if you're interested in picking it up. I mean, it'll be useful. It'll be helpful to me if it's the type of music you're interested in. So anyways, that out of the way, I just want to let you all know. My dad and I just finished the penthouse in the Four Seasons. It was probably one of my favorite jobs I've ever done. That sounds pretty intense. Tell me about that, Laureate. What was that like? Did you use copper everything? Or did you go into Wurzbow? Or what were you using? Haha, I've been threatened on my job for rapping, for your rapping abilities. Dave, I'm going to give you fuel for that fire, fam. Don't you worry. Music is dope. So cool you can still do what you like while plumbing full time. Isaiah, it's been a mission to juggle. I ain't going to lie. Man, it took a long time, but at the same time, I was learning the whole trade of it as well. As I was learning plumbing, I was also learning music production. I was learning how to compose, mix, and master. So it's been a journey to get here. I'm really proud of what I can do. You know, I'm trying, man. That's it. I just, like I said in one of the vlogs a little while back, I just hope to continue having the courage to chase both my responsibilities to the family and also the dreams as well. So I appreciate you saying that, Isaiah. It's been a journey, up and down battle. You know, with any sort of work of art, like you start off really excited and then you eventually start feeling like you're absolute crap. And then you get back to the excitement stage. And then at some point, the exhaustion stage takes over. And you're just like, dude, I just got to send this out. Did you ever pick up a MAPP gas torch yet? Benzomatic TS4000. I have not yet, but it is something I'm going to do. I might even do a video on it. It was wild. Copper drains/water, CI, XFR, and PEX A. Wow, dude, you went through a lot of materials right there. I expected XFR for sure. Copper for potable water. PEX A for potable water as well, I guess. What's the CI? Is CI for heating or is that a plumbing thing? Cast iron, my bad, dude. What's wrong with me? Dude, I'm all over the place right now. Cast iron. Wow, you went through all the materials possible doing a high rise, eh? Cast iron, XFR, PEX A. Awesome, dude. Awesome. Good for you, man. That must have been both really tough and really satisfying at the same time. Because when you go through that many materials, man, you have to be well-rounded. You know? Drug test for Kenny. David, don't ask what's in this bottle right here, fam. Leave it alone. Drug test for Kenny. Peeps, do you guys have to do drug tests at the companies you're at? Is that a thing? I know larger construction companies do random urine tests and stuff like that to make sure their workers are never under the influence at work. That's an interesting question. And if you owned a company, would you implement that? Oh, yeah. Dave, is that right? Okay, good to know. Good to know. So, I don't know, man. I think unions also do it as well. I mean, it's a big deal. I remember having a conversation with a friend. Sure, we test drugs all the time. Just kidding. No drugs test for me, Isaiah. How's the dog? You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. We're learning every day. Dude, she's getting much smarter. She's really impressive when she's on, but when she's off, she's a little bit of a tyrant. Malinois are known for being really bitey. So Malinois fall into the Shepherd family. And if you guys know Border Collies are really smart, extremely smart. And what they say is Malinois are basically Border Collies that like to bite. And let me tell you, they call them Maligators for a reason. I've been scratched up a bunch of times. Thankfully, it's not aggression. It's not aggressive biting. There's never any growling or anything like that. She just loves to mouth things. And she's also in the teething phase right now. So she's trying to bite down on things so that she can loosen those teeth and get her adult teeth as well. So it's like the perfect storm of her biting right now. But dude, we're getting closer and closer with her every day. She's really attached to us right now. She's exceptionally smart. She's learning the manners we're aiming for. It's really, I'm definitely going to add her into the videos. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. She's been a really great blessing. I got to be honest, when we first got here, we were a little bit like, it's our very first puppy ever, right? So there was a lot of learning, and we're not done learning. We're not pros by any means. So there was a lot of like first time parent syndrome, and we still have that where, I think we over coddled, we're over worried. But I think we're loosening up a little bit now, letting her, explore the world a little bit better, and she's doing much better, man, much better. She's super smart, and that's really why we got her. She's going to be high maintenance. She already is kind of high maintenance, but I think we are going to figure out a way to manage it. She's been a blessing for sure. I've got more questions here. Before you laid off, I had 3 in 1 month, all supposedly random. I didn't know that, Dave. Okay, that's interesting. I had a conversation with a friend one time, and it was a group of friends, and the friend was saying, "Oh yeah, we had one of our teammates kind of bring beers over," and oh no, here's how the conversation went. The conversation went like this. I was talking about a specific tradesperson. He was kind of like our foreman, who I shouldn't say this, but one evening, one Friday night, as we were working, he brought a case of beer, and a bunch of the guys helped themselves to it. And as I was saying this, people that aren't working in the trades are looking at me like, "What's the big deal?" Like, we have people that bring beer all the time, especially if it's kind of like this low-key thing. Not all the time, but, it's not that big of a deal. And I had to remind my friend, we're not allowed to be under the influence of anything when we're operating machinery. And we are operating machinery in our work, and that's a big deal. So drug testing, I think, is a necessary evil because most importantly, you're putting a lot of people at risk. Like, let's put the company aside for a second. You're on a team. You're on a crew. And if you're under the influence, a lot of people's lives are in danger because you might be intoxicated in some way or the other. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure that that's not the case. And then secondarily, it looks bad on the company. You know what I'm saying? Most importantly, there are people in your vicinity that you're responsible for. So in other words, the reason why we're hanging out and we have a couple of people on a job site is because if I get onto a ladder and God forbid, my ladder tips and it's going, I need somebody to come get me. You know what I'm saying? I need somebody to help me down if they can. Or if some sort of machinery goes off the wrong way, I need somebody to help me, and vice versa. So we have to be responsible for one another, and I think that's why drug testing is a necessary sort of thing. Might cost your company some money to do, but man, I'm sort of with that. What do you peeps feel? Are you for drug testing or what's up? Did you guys ever end up hiring a person because you said it was busy? So if you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. No, we haven't. I need to basically sit down one day and start looking for, send out a request for resumes essentially, because it's been crazy. And the problem is when it's super busy, you're drowning with so much work that you don't have time to do those things that are going to help you in the future. You know what I'm saying? So if I just took a day off to send out requests for resumes and stuff like that, that's time that I could have spent in helping Dad finish a rough-in or help Dad do the finishing, If you'll start HVAC as well, I will come work for you. All right, sounds good, Dave. You'll be the first in line. Trust me. Trust me. So if you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Are you in the Toronto area? Or where are you located about? Or are you in the States? I can't even remember. I might have asked you that before. Alberta. Nice. So you have a 10,000 hour apprenticeship, if I'm not wrong, and you also do gas and plumbing at the same time. Does that sound correct? Drug testing would be fine if they would stop testing for THC levels. You could smoke a joint at night in your home 2 weeks before a drug test positive, and get fired. Interesting, Isaiah. Interesting. And, there are a lot of people that I think THC is the marijuana thing. Yeah, no, it definitely is the marijuana thing. But I know some people that take the version of marijuana. I know it's broken into two different types. One of them gets you high. One of them just gets you mellow. And I know people that use that to sleep, basically. So they don't get high. They just kind of just chill out, basically. And I wonder if that is the THC. If it picks up on that, I don't know if that's really the right thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think the most important thing when doing a drug test is finding out if people are on the drug at that very moment, if they are intoxicated at that very moment, because that's where you can fire somebody, because they're putting people in danger. But for example, if you smoked a joint a couple of weeks back, and that's part of your lifestyle, I agree with you. I don't think that's really fair to fire somebody just because drugs are part of their lives. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there are lots of people that are part of the cannabis culture. As long as you're not high at work, that's really the argument I understand. If you're high at work, okay, well, look, you're not at full capacity with your mind. But if you're not high, then in theory you're good to go. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I hear you. So 10,000 hour, you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. 10,000 hours, 3 in-class sessions, gas and heating. All right, Isaiah, I'm glad we see eye to eye on that one. Gas and heating for the Alberta. Hey, if you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. I was actually in Alberta late 2019. We ended up going to Flange, Jasper. And honest to God, I would go to Alberta in a heartbeat, just right now. If somebody said, you want to go to Alberta, I'll go, hell yeah. Alberta is just, for me, seeing those mountains, dude, it just does something to me. It transports me into a different life, takes away all my concerns. Love driving those roads. And honestly, it kind of, I hear 4-year school. Oh, 4-year school, 4 in-class sessions. That's right. Okay, that makes sense. And I got to be honest, I'm a little bit biased, especially on the last trip, because we ended up renting a Ram. Ooh, man. A Ram? Ooh, I was a big fan of that truck, fam. Big fan. And you know what's interesting is I always got my eye on the F-150. I'm a really big fan of the way the XLT Sport looks like in the 2019, 28 versions of the F-150. When we got that Ram, man, I've been eyeing the Ram with the other side. I feel like I'm cheating on the F-150. I ain't going to lie. The Rams look pretty awesome. You ever going to take your pop shop or branch out on your own? Isaiah, the game plan is to not branch out, but to kind of build it. My hope is, look, the dream in regards to the company for me is I would like to get more into a management role where I'm facilitating crews. You know, that's really where I want to take it. I want to be able to take on more volume and also run crews. That's where I hope to bring it. And you know, I think it's doable, but you just have to spend years building the right crew. Do you know what I mean? I think the hardest part in regards to anything, whether it's a family or whether it's friends, the hardest part is finding the right people. You know, you gotta unfortunately weave through a bunch of people that you might not be compatible with. Where did my dad get his ticket and when? So my dad got his. My dad did a bunch of plumbing in the Soviet Union when he was living there. That was where my dad was born. He was born in a country called Uzbekistan. Now he never got citizenship there, but my dad's heritage is all Greek. During the Civil War in Greece, his family and a bunch of Greek families went up to the Soviet Union and basically stayed in a small place in Uzbekistan, or they went to other countries. So my dad did plumbing in Uzbekistan. That's where he learned the trade. When he came to Canada, he got his ticket here, and what they did is they gave him a temporary license for a period of time. And then what he had to do was go and write the exam. So he took a couple of prep courses for it, wrote the exam 2 or 3 times sort of thing, and he finally passed and he got his ticket here. And that's only because he did his apprenticeship back home in the homeland that he was born in, basically. That's how that went down. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. Yep, you got to get your gas. I hear you. I hear you. Peeps, I think normally, what test color did you get? I got yellow, Laureate. What color did you get? You know, and I got yellow both times, I think. What color did you get? So, Peeps, here, yellow. That's it. That's it. So, Peeps, here in Ontario, well, I guess nationwide, there are different test colors when you write your CFQ, Certificate of Qualification. And there are 4 different test colors, I think. So we'd always walk out and call our buddies up going, dude, I got yellow. Yeah, I got yellow too. And they do that to make sure that if there are multiple plumbers in the test center, that they're not going to get the same test, and thus they can't cheat off each other. If by some chance they're bumping into each other, page 1 and page 1 of the other test, Victor, page 1 of the other test don't look the same. So they make it really tough for you to be disobedient and cheat on that test. So yeah, I got yellow, I think both times, to be honest. And I wrote it twice. Laureate, you only wrote once? You're a brainer? You finished that test the first time? Like, this is easy stuff, man. You know, I have a buddy from plumbing school, really, really smart. The kind of guy that just kind of soaks up the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And he wrote his test for the first time. And you need a 70 to pass. Buddy got a 69 or something like that. It's like, he was right on the spot. Dave, why can I not see new comments? Something going on? I don't know. Dave, that might be on your end. I'm seeing comments here. I'm seeing yellow was from the ministry lady told me is the hardest out of all of them. Are you serious, dude? Laureate, if that's true, man, I'm going to be upset because I got it both times, friend. Both times. You got 80%. Holy crap, Laureate. Wow. Just stomping these tests, eh? Whoa. No, man, I did not do that well. I studied the wrong way the first time, to be honest. I didn't go through the tests the first time as much as I should have. I did a bunch of these supplementary reading that the teacher handed us just to eventually realize as I'm writing the test, I'm going, dude, I wasted my time on all that supplementary reading. So I wrote it a second time, got yellow again, and I got like 71. Dude, but I had like an 11% bump from my previous score, so it was a big deal for me. It felt like you're 80, buddy. It felt like you're 80. I'm just starting out on my own, currently operating as a router company, going to take my plumbing contractor's license next month. here in Southern California in the States. Isaiah, best of luck, brother. Good for you. Keep up the great work, man. I hear California is quite competitive depending on where you're living. I know another plumber called Hovzep, really nice guy. He was saying that it's really quite competitive. There's a lot of plumbing companies down there. And from what I understand, there's not an apprenticeship that's taking place. It's just what you're saying, the contractor's license, basically, that you have to get. And once you get that, you're good to go, sort of thing. Laureate said, yeah, she said yellow and red were the most difficult, more hydronics and gas, both of which barely touched in our schooling. Laureate, I'm with you 100% in regards to we did touch upon gas in schooling, and there were a couple of people in the class that did gas, and I think they did way better on the test than I did, because anytime a gas question came my way, especially the first time around, man, I couldn't visualize it. I didn't understand the systems, and thankfully, I remembered enough to pass the test, but man, I wish I knew more gas. Honestly, I did. Isaiah, best of luck with the test, man. That's going to be great for you. There wouldn't be any gas on the plumbing test, just heating. Gas is separate. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. On the CFQ, I don't know if you're licensed. You might be already licensed, you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. On the CFQ that I wrote and Laureate wrote, there's definitely gas questions on it for some reason. So even though gas is a separate trade here in Ontario, they put it on anyways. And there was like a staple, handful of questions that were gas related on it. I remember questions like whenever there's, I think it's gas, whenever you have gas valves in a medical room, which way do they open or which way do they close? They close so that the door to it will not be able to close so that they won't forget it. Anyways, here in Kentucky, gas and plumbing are together. Yeah, Dave, I'm finding that in a lot of places they seem to be, oh, you got your red seal, nice. So you ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. When you did the plumbing red seal, was there just a plumbing red seal for you and then a gas red seal? Like you had to do them separately, or how did that work? Because for us, they combined the questions. You know what I'm saying? I remember one specific question on that test. If a water closet flange is below the floor, what is the best way to install the water closet? Answer was to double up the wax seal. I contested that question. Laureate, I was talking about that earlier. David, Dylan, and I were talking about how I had to build up a flange to make it fit, and that I knew plumbers that went double wax seals. And some plumbers do that, man. Some plumbers think that's the way. And look, all the power to them. I know it works. But the way Dad always taught me was like, nah, build the flange up, one gasket sort of thing. Anyways, that's a funny contesting question right there, fam. That's really, really funny. I've never contested a question. I remember once there was a question that was asking me something, and I actually went over and I got a dictionary because I didn't know what the word meant. So that's the only thing I did on my test. The tests are exhausting, by the way. It's not something that I would wish upon everybody, unless you want to get licensed. But man, I just remember being so brain fried doing those tests, man. So exhausted afterwards. And what's funny is each time that I wrote it within a couple of months of each other. Every single time we went to the theater right after so that I can decompress this mind of mine. And both times we saw the same movie. We saw the last Avengers movie with Thanos in it, with Josh Brolin as Thanos. What is it called? Homecoming? Is it Homecoming? No, that's Spider-Man. Anyways, that's what we did both times. And I remember the first time I wrote, man, it was a miserable watch. I was just tired, dude. And the second time it was finally, I enjoyed it much better. So, Laureate, did you contest it because you don't think that you should double up the wax gaskets? Is that not kosher according to your books or your dad's books? Let me know. That's interested. So, peeps, I'm going to do about 6 more minutes, and then I got to be off to walk the dog and also get her a little bit trained up. We're going to do one final training session. I had to do 4 tests in 2 days. First day was plumbing AIT. Then in the afternoon, I did the Red Seal plumbing. Then second day, did gas, AIT. Then Red Seal gas test. AIT is the provincial. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. I tip my hat to you, friend, because that sounds like a root canal. And then it sounds like a second root canal on the next day. You know what I'm saying? That sounds exhausting, dude, friend. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you made it through. Oh, there was one question in each category that does not have a right answer. If you answer all four correct, they question you for cheating. Really? I extend the flange with extensions. That's what I do. No way I double gasket. Yeah, I extend it with extensions as well. Laureate, how many extensions was the maximum you went? That's what the question we were mulling over, me and David, earlier. I did 3 extensions this week. So I had to build it up 3 extensions. They're called extension kits, I think. Yeah, that's what we call them. 5 more minutes, peeps. Let me know if you have any questions for me, plumbing-wise or life-wise. I'm down for anything. Questions about dogs, about family, about relationships, about music, because my EP's coming out hopefully within the next couple of weeks, man. That would be cool. Do we have people here that listen to electronic music? Like it's on the trappy side. It's got a little bit of dubstep. What does your wife do for work? You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. She facilitates elections. She works for an election company, basically. So she works in some software stuff, basically, I should say. Software. I think that's the right way to express it. Yo, Killer Rob, what's going on? Killer Rob, we got 4 minutes. You got to ask questions now. I hope you're doing well. Let me know. If you got any questions, hit me up, man. Hit me up, friend, I should say. 1998. Was that when you were born, Killer Rob? Dude, your plumbing course helped me out so much, man. Really? Bro, fam, that makes me so happy, man. That's one of the nicest compliments you can give me. I'm really happy to hear that. I'm really so happy. I'm really happy. Peeps, by the way, I have a plumbing math course. It's 10% off right now. Check my previous video. You'll be able to find links there. 10% off. It's 10 and a half hours. It goes through all the math I went through in my apprenticeship. Killer Rob, how did it help you? What did you end up doing? Killer Rob, you're 22. Awesome, awesome. What did you end up doing with it? Did you like have to do a math test or something like that? You found it useful? Dude, man, that's like the biggest compliment you could pay me. I really appreciate that, friend. I really appreciate that. That's really nice. I'm really glad it's helpful, man. That was a really hard course to make. You've done 7. Guy tried to finish his own basement and poured too high. Just put the water closet on, and of course it leaked. Called us 4 to 5 inches below the floor. Dude, 7. That is, man, that's ridiculous. 7. I think honestly my maximum was 5 or something like that. So Laureate, do you get the white flanges? The white extension pieces where you got a silicone around them, you caulk around them, and then you just layer them on top. How did you get the bolts to fit? At that point, you cut up the concrete. I know, right? Like that might be the only other option. I just always struggle in math, so I used to give me confidence because I'm in the process of trying to get an apprenticeship. Killer Rob, I'm so happy that it could help you. You deserve to feel that confidence in math. Look, math was never natural for me. It's something that I got better at as I aged, sort of thing. But even to this day, I got to write things out. I can't compute complex things. I can't do complex fractions, but good for you. Good for you. And honestly, good on you for taking the initiative to find something that's going to boost your confidence and also that's going to work on a skill that you might not be as skilled as you want to be at. So that's good on you. You're doing the right thing. That's what it takes to get to the next level. It takes looking at your weaknesses to be able to get to the place you want to get. So you got to rely upon yourself in order to do that. You're doing the right thing. I'm so proud of you, Killer Rob. You're doing the right thing. Laureate is saying, thank God it was just a basement. Wouldn't do that on upper floors. Hell yeah. Carriage bolts with zinc coating. Wow. A guy didn't want to fix it correctly, would have done it right the first time. Can you use a ratchet to loosen flange bolts? L. Saunders, you're talking about a water closet flange? Miguel, Kenny, love your videos. How much digging am I going to have to do? I dug 2 feet, 70 feet long trenches. Oh, man, Miguel, that sounds exhausting, fam. You're probably in your bed right now with no energy to message me. Dude, congrats on doing that and surviving. That sounds ridiculous. I hope you don't have to do more digging, Miguel. You deserve to retire at whatever age you're at right now if you had to do that. L. Saunders, can you use a ratchet to loosen flange bolts? Look, loosening flange bolts, loosening bolts typically is you can use a ratchet. The only time you're worried about using a ratchet is when you're tightening things, like if you're tightening bolts to a porcelain bowl, for example. That's when you got to really worry about it, because porcelain is not a very compliant material. If you put some strain on it, you can get in trouble. So if you're loosening it, toilet flanges, yes. L. Saunders, if you're loosening, I think you're good to go. If you're tightening, that's when it becomes a little bit of an issue. You gotta go a little bit slow. Use an open-ended wrench. Easier to feel tightening / loosening. That's Laureate's take on that, L. Saunders. I hope that helps. Peeps, 1 more minute. I'm gonna call it. I gotta go eat. I'm starving. I gotta also feed the dog, or else she's gonna be grumps, fam. She's gonna be super grumps. Bless up. I appreciate you, L. Saunders. Thank you for hanging out. Sorry it was only at the end, but hit me up with questions. What other YouTube plumbers you watch? Roger Wakefield. I watch, come on, the Chuck Barron. I watch PB Plumber. Mech Hub. Is that Chuck? Yeah, Steve Lav. Yeah, Steve Lav does a bunch of things. When is your next live stream? Next Saturday, Killer Rob. This old house? Yeah, there's a bunch of plumbers out there, man. I'm telling you, the list is getting longer. And they all have their take on it, which I love. I love looking at how other people are doing things similarly to me and how other people are doing things differently. Mechanical Hub has a sick van. Oh, I got to check that out, Laureate. I'm always really impressed to watch other plumbers and kind of be impressed by, like, never heard of Mech Hub either. I got to check that out right away. ASAP, I'm going to check it out. But, yeah, you guys should check out all those people I brought up, man. They're good at what they do. I want to start a channel thinking about it. Laureate, what are you waiting for, fam? Get on it. Don't wait, man. Just get on it. Do a video. See if you like making videos. If you hate making videos, stop it. If you don't mind it, do it. If you only want to do it once in a while, do it once in a while. Go. Milwaukee Nation, Plumbers Tools. Rich people don't like cameras, lol. That's true. I ain't gonna lie. Haha, me too. But too much time, I heard, to make vids. You ain't plumbing, you ain't nothing. It's exhausting, fam. It's exhausting, fam. I'm telling you, man. To have a string of videos come out every week, man, I'm telling you, it's exhausting. You have to... No, Laureate, I use Premiere Pro. CC. Just plumb it. Is that a channel, L. Saunders? Just plumb it? It's exhausting, but look, if you enjoy it, that's what it really comes down to. If it's fun for you, then it doesn't matter if it's exhausting. You know what I'm saying? It's worth the labor. But if it's, for some people, making videos isn't for everybody. It's a motto, L. Saunders. I agree with you. Just plumb it. I love that. The motto I use is, let's go do some delicious plumbing. I don't know where David Dillon went, man. I hope you're still okay. David was saying he couldn't see any... I used to do game edits, so I got the skills. Just timing people wanting to let us record. From the Bahamas. Awesome, L. Saunders. Awesome. Alrighty, peeps. I'm going to call it now. I really appreciate you all. Plumbing in the tropics. L. Saunders, that's a game changer. I wonder how that is, man. Peeps, I really appreciate the love and support. For everybody that gave me super chats, you know I love you. David Dillon, Laureate. I think there might have been somebody else. Love you all. Let's go do some delicious plumbing. Peace out, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.